we need to use artificial intelligence. So almost every single thing is right now is touched on by artificial intelligence. So how are we then going to educate the workforce? And this is a problem worldwide. We should try to leapfrog and try to do different, not to compete against the big guys. If you try to compete against China or US or whatsoever, the big guys in trying to outsmart them by having a super big infrastructure, you're going to lose out because they are years ahead. So we need to sit on the shoulder of the giants.
I think now there are fierce competitions among developed countries on mastering this new AI technology. In this war between the US and Iran, they say that the target was picked with the AI technology. If you want to compete with these two countries, I think that would be quite difficult. So what we need to do is we need to collaborate with both countries.
Now, another interesting thing where many countries didn't notice. Who is the biggest user of IT in any country? The government. Do not just look at one small little portion of it and then try to address it. Look at the whole thing, whole realistic. The supply and the demands. How are you going to create the whole picture? And then you're able to push it very quickly.
Very tough discussions, a lot of data and policy. So we'll talk about this later on with Adit, but I will invite Mas Adit to come join us here. Sit in the middle. Big applause for Mas Adit. And Adit is not alone here. We have Prof. Simon. Prof. Simon, please give applause for Prof. Simon. All right, so maybe those who don't know Prof. Simon, he is a Chief Solutions Architect Global Head, NVIDIA, correct? Yes. And AI Technology Center, NVIDIA Corporations. So yeah, in front of you guys, we have a government and we have the industry and ecosystem. Of course, we'll dig more about that later on. And yes, before I start, my mic is working, right? Okay, I'm gonna start moderating the sessions, but I don't want to make it tough, like a World Economic Forum and stuff. So yeah, so chill, but focus. Right, so Dr. Simon here, we've seen a lot the presentations of Dr. Adit, talking about Indonesia's future and visions about AI. First, you have done a lot. NVIDIA have done a lot. Yeah, seeing a lot of projects, a lot of roadmaps all across the globe. What's your response first, Dr. Simon?
Right. Can you hear me? Oh, yes. Hello. Yeah. So first of all, it is very encouraging to see that Indonesia, which is Singapore neighboring country, with a population of 280 million people, investing and have a visions to drive artificial intelligence educations in the country. AI is touched on everything right now. Everything, I must say. We have from the education side of things to agriculture, to manufacturing, to marketing, to design, to almost every single thing. Over the last couple of years, in fact, just a couple of months ago, the industry, the software industry, has a major adjustment because Anthropic released a code that's able to do coding in a double quick time. And what happens is that the software industry will be heavily affected by it. Many of the people that is working in software development work, you will know this, that now software, 70% to 80% of your software is going to be created by artificial intelligence. And there is only one aspect of it. The other aspect is many other things. Engineering design, that you want things that it is only the super brain of the engineers is going to do it. now artificial intelligence is there. NVIDIA have to force company like Cadence, Synopsys, to actually implement artificial intelligence in their software so that they can help us to design our next generation GPUs. Because our next generation GPU is so complex that ordinary human being is not able to design it. We need to use artificial intelligence. So almost every single thing right now is touched on by artificial intelligence. So how are we then going to educate the workforce? And this is a problem worldwide. The question right now is there political willingness of the government to actually pivot their educations towards a AI-oriented educations, or are they just sit back and just wait for the world to change? So I'm very glad that Indonesia is taking on that front to actually do that, and NVIDIA is definitely willing to help in one way or another.
Well, if we see there is a big talent gap in the future, Mas Adit, at 2.75 million digital talents by 2030. Huge number. Do you see this is a crisis or opportunity in Indonesia?
My question was this question.
You, from industry's perspective.
It is a,
because AI is everywhere, right? You see.
Yeah, it is a opportunity, but what I say is that we should try to leapfrog and try to do different, not to compete against the big guys. If you try to compete against China or US or whatsoever, the big guys in trying to outsmart them by having a super big infrastructure or and whatsoever, you're going to lose out because they are years ahead, right? So we need to sit on the shoulder of the giants. Like smaller country, including smaller country like Singapore and other parts of Southeast Asia. We have to sit on the shoulder of the giant and find ways of trying to leapfrog with the help of other countries like China or US or whatsoever.
Interesting. Mas Adit, leapfrog is the key message here. How do you see Indonesia? Because there is two big giants right now. When Mas Adit always say about Shanghai, I'm just curious about China. Maybe what is Indonesia's position right now? There is a big giant, the US. They have Google and stuff. They have a ChatGPT, but now in China they have a lot of AI right now. How do you see Indonesia as a leapfrog between two giants, Mas Adit?
I agree on what Professor Simon said, because I think now there are fierce competitions among developed countries on mastering this new AI technology. If you remember that in this war between the US and Iran, they say that the target was picked with the AI technology, Professor. So if you want to compete with these two countries, I think that would be quite difficult. So what we need to do is we need to collaborate with both countries, and then we try to find our own uniqueness to develop our own AI strategy. I think that's number one. I'm interested to comment on what you're saying about the talent gaps in Indonesia. There is a big demand, 12 million talent gap demands, and there is only 9 million talents that is ready to fill the market. So I think the seriousness of the governments is needed and they need to step up to take that challenge and try to fill that 3 million gaps. And I think the Indonesian government has already tried to prove that commitment by slowly building our infrastructure and then increasing the access of trainings to many stakeholders in Indonesia, and creating a policy where we are encouraging to use this AI technology. And I think personally it will happen eventually because the challenge is getting bigger and bigger, and you need a technology, you need a methodology, try to make it more efficient. I give you an example. How many of you from Indonesia know a program called Lapor Mas Wapres?
Anyone? 1, 2, 3.
You know, monthly offline and offline, we have thousands of people are asking to find solutions to their problems. They have issues that they cannot pay their kids' tuition fee. They have issues that they cannot pay their school bill. They have issues that there is a domestic violence in the house. They have issues on the land and everything. Thousands and thousands of requests coming every day to Vice President's office, and the only way to make this report efficiently, try to manage this report efficiently, knowing what needs to be done, to which ministry that they have to collaborate. You need the technology. And AI could be one of that solutions to provide better public service. So again, I agree on what Professor Simon said, that the use of AI in the future is something that we cannot avoid. It will happen naturally. And when it happens naturally, I think people start getting realize the importance of AI, and they want to learn about artificial intelligence. I'm sorry, I'm a bit biased here because I just coming from China 2 weeks ago, but you know that in China, learning robotics is not something luxury. Everyone wants to learn about robotics. I'm confused. Suddenly, you will find a parents bringing their children to school. My child wants to learn about robotics. She has to learn about robotics. And then I was asking the founder, so robotics started at 2002 or 2000, I forgot. It started at 2002 and became massively at 2018. So I was talking to this founder of one of the founder of the robotic companies in China, and I was asking, how do you make learning robotics become something that is natural? Everyone wants to learn about robotics. And he told me, I will tell you a story. He said, you know, at that time, learning robotics is something strange. You know, why do you want to learn about robotics? You're watching robotics, that's fine. But you want to learn about robotics? That's something that may be quite strange at 2002. So what I did is, this is the guy, and he said that I create a national competition. He created a national competition on robotics. So everyone who's joining the competition, they need to create robotics with certain characters, certain criteria to finish different tasks. And the one who can do that task precisely with very efficient time, they will become the winner. And at that time, there is only like 3,000, 4,000 students from all over China joining that competition. And in that competition, the winner from number 1 until 50, they were ranked based on the task, based on the time, efficiency, and everything. From 1 until 50, they can go to any university that they want to go in China, including Tsinghua, which is one of the best university in China. So government endorsed that as an incentive. One, it become an incentive. The next year, without any promotion, everyone is flocking that robotic competition. So what I'm trying to say is, at certain point, if we want to massively promoting this use of AI, I think government has to step in with some kind of incentive, with some kind of programs to create this massive movement of learning AI. Then you will find your 3 million gap filled. Yeah.
Well, we agree on that, but there is a different between adoptions and capability. Being able to adopt an AI and being able to, get more benefits for AI. It's two different things, right? How do you see the adoptions actually go in Indonesia right now? What's that?
Yeah, how the adoption, I think it's moving forward, although maybe we still need to move this adoption faster. I was always telling in every forum that it's very difficult for us to teach AI if you don't build the public imaginations on artificial intelligence. When I come to schools, I come to universities, or I come to forum, I said, we should learn about AI. Someone is asking, Pak Adit, do we learn to type prompting? Because if learning to type prompting, I don't need to learn. That's something that I can learn by myself. So what do you mean by learning AI? Again, maybe I'm a little bit Chinese-minded, but last year I was invited to office of Alibaba, the Ant Group, and when I was there, I was introduced by the team to, I think, one of the big floors in the big building in Alibaba office. So the floor is so big, and in that floor, they are putting a lot of equipment using AI. Maybe you are fans of Star Wars, and in Star Wars we see like this three-dimensional with the hologram, right, where they can speak to us and everything. I see that instrument in that floor. They use it to consult about medical health. And when I ask, have you put this? I have put in 20 hospitals in China. Then people can know, oh, this is artificial intelligence. It's not about prompting. It's about something that we use for daily life. So if we build the public imaginations, I think it will increase and accelerate the adoptions of AI.
Prof. Simon, I love your pin. I love AI, right? There. So I just want to make it more operational. You see a lot of countries adopting AI, making policy about AI. Do you see Indonesia is on the right track in building the foundations, or what do you think?
So this is a very interesting question. There are certain countries which, make big policies, but when it comes to implementation, they really didn't do it very well. There are certain countries where it's a holistic implementations, and they do it very well. I mean, give the reason. One of the reasons. So there is. You look at in every country. You look at two major segments, right? One of them is the government. The other one is the private sectors. So the way if we look at it, the U.S. is basically all driven by the private sectors. The private company is capitalist. They are all driven by that. The government take a back seat on it. In China, it's both. China have a very holistic program, because when you look at it if you ask any economist, when you want to create anything to be successful, you need to have the supply, you need to have the demands, and that is basically you need to have two. Because if you can have all the supply, you can produce 1 million PhD students, but there's no demand. These 1 million students is going to be totally wasted. Right? So you need to create the demands and so forth. So you need to have a plan, a total holistic national plans, starting from at the national levels, where you are able to. So what are the government able to control? The government able to control the Ministry of Education, providing training the students, training the people, providing the supplies of things, and then they must able to have incentive into the private sectors. Incentive into the private sectors to say that, you guys, now I'm going to give you, things like in China, loans for them to build companies, startups, and whatsoever, to actually build AI companies. And that part of the industry absorb the students over this side. So you have a supply, you have a demands. So you create the demands. And then this company has the demands for the PhD. Don't forget, they are producing products. Where the product is going to, they are going to have low-cost manufacturing, extremely efficient manufacturing. That manufacturing is export to the rest of the world. That is supplying to the rest of the world. So you create a very holistic portion. Now, another interesting thing where many countries didn't notice. Who is the biggest user of IT in any country? The government. Right? In China, in Singapore. So Singapore has an agency called the GovTech. Anyone of you work for GovTech? Right? GovTech has about 4,000 people developing applications for the government. Right? That is only one minor agency. One small year. You have A-Star, you have other things. In China, you have Chinese Academy of Science. You have all the major universities. All these guys are doing heavy research. And they are encouraged, their research, to go into the private sectors. And they are heavily funded by the government to push artificial intelligence. So you need to build a holistic. I'm not saying that the China model should be applied into Indonesia, but as a country, and Singapore cannot do what the China is doing. Singapore, or whatever different country, have to look at what their unlimited resources is, what their capability is, and then plan out the holistic. Do not just look at one small little portion of it and then try to address it. Look at the whole thing, whole realistic. The supply and the demands. How are you going to create the whole picture? And then you're able to push it very quickly.
Do you see any one specific policy design that you believe need to be implemented in Indonesia in these 1-2 years?
One policy?
Yeah.
I don't think there's one policy. I believe that there should be, like I say again, Indonesia should have a more holistic view, right? Both from the education part of side and also from the commercial part of side of things. Because it is not just, like I say again, it is not just producing a lot of students. It's also producing these students that the industry want to absorb. Like you say again, there's a mismatch, right? You have jobs, and you're training students that couldn't go into the industry. There is a mismatch, and that is the thing. So we need to actually think of it from a holistic point of view, and how to actually match it properly.
Wow, that's interesting. Dr. Adit, Prof. Simon previously said that we shouldn't compete with the giants, right? The US and China, they move earlier than us. And it's relevant because we are blue ocean strategy. Interesting to ask Ms. Adit, how do you see Indonesia in this giant? What kind of leapfrog or blue ocean strategy do you think need to be implemented, Ms. Adit?
Yeah, I think both China and the US, which are two leading countries for AI development, they have their own strengths and limitations. So I think as a government, we are discussing with both countries on how we can move forward with this AI development. I think that's number one. Number two, again, I agree on what Simon said. We need to find the uniqueness of this AI development based on the needs of each countries, because it may be applicable to China, may be applicable to US, but maybe not applicable to Indonesia. So to understand that, we need a lot of internal outlook to check whether those needs are relevant. You know, before I was in the vice president office, I am having these discussions with one of the giant technology, and he said that we need to build our own AI platform. And at that point, I was thinking, maybe it's interesting to build a relevant AI platform, uniquely owned by Indonesian people. But then, when AI is developed, it's no longer a uniqueness here. You can find hundreds of AI platform in Google Play Store. So it's no longer relevant to create our own AI platform. But what important is, I think, if we know what we need, and then we use the strength from both countries, China and US, and we use that strength to apply in our own interests, I think that's something that we have to look. President said that currently Indonesia is focusing on 3 sectors: energy, education, and agriculture. So these 3 sectors are the key priorities for the presidents. So how can we use artificial intelligence to support that key priorities? It may be different priorities for the other countries, for Singapore, for Malaysia, for Philippines. But I think if we can focus on that one, I think it will create a lot of positive impacts.
Great. Previously, Dr. Adit say about public imaginations, and I want to give the opportunity for you guys to ask Dr. Adit or Prof. Simon to use your imaginations of Indonesians AI and the futures. Do you have any questions? 1, 2. Okay, I'm gonna move to Bapak this first, and then
Okay, thank you, Pak Adit and Prof. Simon for very interesting talk about the AI. One thing I want to to have a more clarity about for Indonesia, what is actually the sectors, the goal to AI? Because I see AI is not as a end goal. It is just as a enabler for us to reach whatever we want. Maybe we can focus our AI efforts in maximizing our downstreaming, or is it for our digital economy, or what is the government intention in developing AI in Indonesia? And then also for the NVIDIA, NVIDIA is a biggest player now in AI, because all of data centers, they need your stuff. So there is also one of the bottleneck in the AI and in the digital industry. Is there any, is NVIDIA just or any other GPU or semiconductor industry is only operating as a business, or what can Indonesia do to be prioritized, maybe for all the, because everybody is fighting for the chips, right? So if we want to grow our AI capabilities, so what kind of cooperation between the private sector and the government that NVIDIA are looking for? Thank you. I'm Adi Cahyo from NUS. I'm currently doing NUS Master Study in Real Estate. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Maybe one more, yeah, I think. And then we answer.
Yeah, my name is Rifai. I was born and grew up in Indonesia, but I'm based in Singapore. I work for Razer. Yeah, I think my question is more for Mas Aditya, I guess. In Singapore, actually, we have a good program called the Skill Future, that basically to accelerate about the worker to adopt the AI skill. I think that might be applicable in Indonesia, because Indonesia, a large chunk of the economy is from MSME. What do you think about applying something like Skills Future that giving entrepreneur people that work in the MSME industry to learn about AI? And in Singapore, actually, they work with the university like SMU and others, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Rifai. All right, interesting. Mas Adit, what is the end goal of AI? After this, I come back to you. What is the end goal of AI? If Indonesia's biggest opportunity maybe farming industry, fisheries, for example. So again, what is the end game of Indonesian AI? Is it an enabler, or you want to be a China or United States? What do you think?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. What is the end goal of AI? First of all, I think I agree that AI is the enabler. AI is a partner, is an instrument that we can use to provide more efficient service, cost efficiency, and everything. But I think, I don't know, maybe I cannot represent the objective, because this is always developing from the government. But me personally, I think the end goal of AI is about job creation. I was joining the Acer Edu Summit, I think maybe 2-3 days ago in Jakarta, and there is this one professor from New Zealand. She provided interesting data that she told the audience at that time that in 2030, 2035, there is going to be 85 million jobs lost because of AI. 85 million jobs lost because of AI. But in the same year, the professor said that it will open 97 million new jobs. So my thinking with all of these programs, training, infrastructure, is we want to get that 97 million jobs, because that 97 million jobs will be competed against all the countries. So if we don't prepare our talent, if we don't prepare our workforces to be ready to face this new challenge, that opportunity will be lost. So the sector could be anything. It could be about agriculture, it could be about creative industry, it could be about health, it could be about education. But the important is there are going to be new jobs that is open in 2030. 97 million jobs. And all 160 countries globally will compete for that 97 million jobs. And we can take that 97 million jobs if we have the right skill, if we have the right creativity, if we have the right agility. So I think that would be the end goal of this AI technology development. And number two, but for the question, I think I agree, but this is also, I think this AI era and AI discussion in Indonesia is becoming accelerated when the vice president keep campaigning about AI, right? Even sometimes people are calling him the AI VP, something like that, because in every forum he always talk about artificial intelligence. Because if what this professor said true, then we only have 4 years, Pak, to compete with other countries, to prepare ourselves to face this AI era. Yeah, and I agree, but I think that's something that we can explore. Yeah.
All right, so the end goal is creating more jobs, yeah. Prof. Simon, do you agree?
Well, yes and no. All right. So from a commercial perspective, as a company, from a commercial perspective, is that the way that we use AI at the moment right now is mostly for productivities. Period. Commercial companies, unlike government, we are capitalists. We answer to the shareholders. You answer to the people. And the shareholders will say, how much money are you bringing in this quarter, right? And then the share will move according to that. So this is the thing is that for every single company, it's period, right? So you do know that. So the productivities of a company is very extremely important. But that basically means that you need to tools the people well. To tools the people that they are able to increase their productivity. For examples, like in programming itself. We used to able to write maybe approximately, if you are very good, 200 lines of codes per week or something like this. Now with AI, an average number of lines per day, per week is roughly about 1,000 to 2,000 lines, right? And we are increasing that even further. So basically, 80% of the work is being done by artificial intelligence. You are just a orchestrator of the codes and the one that actually drive it. So the productivity has gone up, right? The other things that artificial intelligence that we are looking at and looking at use artificial intelligence is artificial intelligence to not just to improve productivities, but ability to strategize and ability to produce new ideas. And that we have not reached that stage yet. But the scientific communities are working on those technology. And once we reach those technology, basically we are hoping that AI will able to produce ideas that human don't even think of it. Right? So that is from the commercial side, right? Commercial companies is all about making money, like I said before. It's all about productivities. So unless ones can, because every headcount, every job that we create, or every things that we create within the company is because we're going to bring in X number of billion of dollars. And that is, don't forget, is this X billion of dollars divided by the number of people. And that is the productivities. So basically, if this year, one person is going to bring in $100 million on average for the company, next year, the person has to bring in, if we bring in new people, have to bring in $150 million per person. And that is how the company actually operates, right? So unfortunately, job is not really a highest priority for a commercial company. And that's the reason why the government have to play a very important role in that sense, because I have one foot in the education, which I also advise the government, and I do understand that there is a lot of anxiety for the younger generations. There is true anxiety because now the company productivity is going up. What does it mean in terms of job creation? And there is the government really have to play a very important role. The government that actually are in front of it were able then to navigate through this turbulence time. The country that the government does not take any actions is going to be will be suffer from it.
Yeah, I agree. So the role of government is very central to boost the productivity, and then this productivity is increasing the income for the private sector itself. Yeah. So I want to ask about this statement, Mas Adit. So there are 4 strategic pillars you mentioned in the roadmap, yeah? Multi-stakeholders, empowerment, nurturing innovation, building capability, and mitigating risk. We know in Indonesia, of course, it is a very coherent framework, but we know that in Indonesia, the conflicting interest between the ministries are big, right? As a vice minister office, how do you align the interest from each minister to achieve that goal?
So the conflicting between ministries not coming from me.
Yeah.
Coming from you because it's recorded. So I don't say it. So what I'm trying to say is, each ministries was assigned different program and different priorities from the presidents. So that's why sometimes it took time for them to coordinate among other ministries, because when they meet the president, the first thing that they are asking is, how is the task that I gave you? So I think I was having this discussion with the vice presidents before I go to Singapore, and we were thinking that this alignment between ministries are needed, yeah, especially on the new technology. And I think there should be a clear priorities, clear steps that is proposed in those meetings, so everyone can agree on what would be the first step needs to be done. I think that's number one. Number two, I think the way to move, this is what I learned. I'm just joining the governments for like 1.5 years ago. But I think what the president did, if you want to align all of the ministries, you should put that directly into program. Because once the program is implemented on the ground, the coordination among ministries is mandatory. It's no longer discussions on the table because it's already happening on the ground. So they will start the coordination. They need to coordinate to make things happen on the ground. So I think those are 2 things. Yeah.
All right. So becoming a programs, meaning that every minister creates different programs, and the task is aligning the programs to achieve the goals. Yeah. All right. Interesting. There's another people raise the hand. You? Yeah. All right. What's your name and where you come from?
My name is Farhan. I'm from NTU. So a quick question to Dr. Ahmad Aditya. I want to ask regarding, you mentioned a strong point about supply and demand in AI should be in equilibrium kind of sense. And one of the key things that I want to ask is about what do you think is the current priority for the government of Indonesia to be able to have this sophisticated manpower to be able to use Gen AI? And maybe like someone also mentioned about the skills feature in Singapore also. Regarding that, you also mentioned about the study case about in China where they have this kind of incentive for robotics since 2020. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but do you think this could also play a role in maybe like prioritize in the Gen AI development of Indonesia itself? So maybe like incentives to University of Indonesia, ITB, Gajah Mada University, or maybe making new program, Gen AI program, that kind of thing that you already have right now in NUS or maybe in NCU. What do you think are the top priorities in making the gap? And is this 5-year project, or what do you think is the ideal to be able to? What is the ideal term to be able to, get this project going on? That's the question.
Okay, Farhan, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Any more? All right.
Okay.
After this.
Of course, sure.
No, go you first.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rija, and I'm from NUS. So before I'm taking my master in NUS, I was working in a defense industry, either in Indonesia and Turkey, and I saw this problem in the AI adoptions. So the thing is, in my opinion, there are cases in the either security issues or credential that makes the AI adoptions harder. One of the issues is because the companies that are working on defense are wary of confidential data leaks and stuff like that. And this is not also true on the defense, but on other sectors for like education and stuff, so that they are wary that their information can be used in a wrong way. And my question is, if the government and the private sectors can somehow convince their parties involved in there to adopt the AI without this kind of worry, I think it might make the things happen faster. But what are your strategies in there, both from the private sectors and the government? Thank you.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Alex. I'm actually working in biologics. But basically, we are doing biotech. What question I want to ask? Because Indonesia itself, technically, you guys actually have energy access problem, right? So with the advent of data centers, which is really needed in the AI world, the data centers is creating the energy access problem, right? At the same time, NVIDIA, being one of the most efficient makers of chips in the AI industry, is also working on something that I guess all of you guys know. It's actually called biocomputing. I have spoken to Final Spark, Cortical Labs. They have been doing biocomputing for the past few years, and eventually biocomputing is going to stay, because with our BCI, which is the brain computer interface, which some of us are working on, is that is going to be the future. That will actually requires interfacing yourself or your brain or other people's brains with biocomputing itself. So in the future, the idea of actually AI is actually very fluid, which means that biocomputing, which means that every person will have the ability to be part of the AI system, right? So whether you believe that the matrix world actually happens, it is an eventuality. How is it going to look like is anybody's guess, because honestly speaking, I have been asked to actually provide funds for people, which we are looking at a 10-year cycle of $50 to $100 million, which is not a big deal in biotech itself, honestly speaking. But the future is that non-specific, meaning that the silicon-based AI is going to last another 10 more years, and that's it. So how is countries like Indonesia, NVIDIA going to tackle this very unfamiliar territory? Yeah, which honestly speaking, I have no idea where it's going, even though I'm in the biotech world.
All right. Give applause. Well, interesting. Well, Prof. Simon, I'm going to come to you first, asking the questions. Well, AI is growing very fast, even too fast. Even we cannot predict, right? How do you see, Prof. Simon, particularly in biocomputing?
So, in fact, biocomputing is a very interesting space. Corticals in Australia, and there are many other folks who are developing along that lines, right? At the moment right now, the silicon-based computing is still the runway. There's still a bit of runway to go before we hit a major bottlenecks, and so to say. But in saying that is that there are also a lot of new things that is going into the silicon. Because one of the things is not just about the silicon itself. It's about the algorithms and the way that we actually do computation within the silicon. About more than 15 years ago, our computing chips, at least on the high-end computing chips, we use two types of numerical representations. One of them is 32 bits, and the other one is 64 bits IEEE representations. 15 years right now, our AI chips is using a 4-bit representation spun across with a different type of floating point representations and so forth. That's actually allow us to increase the computation by a number of factors and also save a lot of powers just by numerical representations. The other things which is actually involved inside there is that we are actually embedding artificial intelligence algorithms inside the chip. It's no more just simply in a generics matrix computations, but we are putting in new numerical chips into it. Now, those things we are not able to replicate it in the biocomputings because of a certain complexities and so forth. So the two tracks are going. We do not know how it's going to be. There are even other tracks, things like quantum computings, thermal computings, and so forth. And so there are many different technology that we are monitoring. But at the moment right now, like I say again, for most of the commercial company, we are looking from both the short-term side of things, how to have a quick return of investment to these shareholders. But at the same time, we are also looking at what are the future technologies that's all coming up. But there are a lot of competing technologies going on right now. So those technologies would surface out maybe in a few years' time where they are more doable. Because don't forget that this technology may be interesting, but they may not be economically viable. All right? When I say economically viable, it means that I can produce those things at extremely low cost and make a lot of profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is always from the commercial point of view.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, because is there a hybrid mode? Because the current claim that the organoid technology is able to actually produce the same kind of computing ability with 1 million times less power. Because our brain uses much less power than silicon itself.
In experiment, of course, we can do that, right? But the question is always about economy, right? It's all about, if I frame for examples, let me just give a simple examples. You know the GPU cards and whatsoever that you guys would buy. There's both commercial side, the gaming side of things, and the high performance computer side of things. And for those of you who are doing high performance computing, you will always complain. Those doing large language models, you will always complain that NVIDIA is not putting enough memories on the board, right? I need bigger memories because I need to train bigger models and whatsoever. A lot of people complain about it. We can do that. Theoretically, we can do that. We can put in more memory. But the problem is this. I only can sell to 1,000 people if I make that. If I use less memory, I sell to 1 million people. What do you think I will do? I sell to 1 million people. I don't care about having a bigger memory. So the economic play a very important role in it.
Interesting. Well, economic plays important role in AI industry.
Our commercial company.
Yeah, I know. All right, interesting. And then, what do you want to add, or give another? I want Mas Adit to answer about the incentivizations of the adoptions of AI in Indonesia, particularly for students, for example. Do you think the government should do more? For example, free ChatGPT for Indonesian students, for example. Or what do you think, Mas Adit?
Yeah, I think the question is quite similar with the second question. Yeah, so I will just answer both. So, yeah, I think the government should always do more because it's part of their obligations to provide better service for the public. And that commitment has been put on the ground. For example, it's not easy to bring 300,000 interactive flat panels You have to navigate all of the law and regulation. You have to navigate the procurement. You have to think how to bring that interactive flat panel into many, many schools, which is located in remote area in Indonesia. When I saw the video of they are distributing interactive flat panel, they put it in the boat, and then they put that boat, try to go across the river and everything, try to deliver that interactive flat panel. So it may be easy for me to say we have distributed 300,000 interactive flat panel, but the challenge on the ground to make that happen is really, really difficult. That's number one. And the president even has commitment to triple that number into 1 million interactive flat panel, which become more challenging to put it on the ground. So are we done enough? No, of course. We need to do more. For example, we said that we bring the interactive flat panel into the remote area in Indonesia. The second question is how about the internet access? How about the electricity? These are still the homework that the government needs to do. And I think the president and the vice president has a lot of commitment to put this interactive flat. Oh, I forgot, to tell you one story. So when I took the office of the vice president as a special advisor, I think a couple of days after that, there is this head of the district from MAPI coming to our office. And he said that, Pak Adit, you need to help me. I said, what can I do, Pak? He said that, there are 28,000 students coming to elementary school in MAPI. MAPI is one of the districts in Papua. 28,000 students coming to schools in MAPI. But do you know, from 28,000 schools of students at elementary school, can you make a guess how many students actually continue their study into senior high school? Take a wild guess. How many students?
10,000.
10,000? Any other? From 28,000 students coming to elementary school, there are only 2,800 students coming to senior high school. They don't want to go to study, they really want to study. So what are the problems? The problem is the location of the schools are very scattered. You have to travel for like 5 hours to go there, to be able to go to school. The president saw this. So the president created solutions to create a tele-education. Because with interactive flat panel, you put an interactive flat panel in one school, then the teacher doesn't have to be there. They could be from anywhere. If you get proper internet access, they can do it. So I think we are trying the best we can, try to provide solutions to tackle many education issues in Indonesia. Of course, we need to do more. Like we said, we just launched the Digital Warrior Alumni. Second thing is about the communication with the private sector. I think that's also something that we would like to tackle. That's also something that we are discussing right now. But we have to show the industry that AI can really help their process. It can provide efficiency into their process. And I think we need to introduce many more functions of artificial intelligence. Because if they see the interest of artificial intelligence, then they will start thinking on, how can I use this? Because it helped me a lot. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. And then I think, Prof. Simon, do you want to answer about the security? Because there's an issue of AI, like security, ethical. You have any comments on that?
Well, if you the question was, if you asked a couple of years ago, people were focusing on the development of the algorithms to develop on certain features and so forth. So there was basically features focus, right? Over the last couple of years, a lot of work has been, and there are a lot of companies is now coming up. They're focusing on developing security for artificial intelligence. Because now artificial intelligence is no more a research project anymore. It is going into mainstream. And when you go into enterprise, into whatsoever, into defense, into government, whatsoever, security is a number one problem. So there are, in fact, this is a opportunity, right, for startups, for new people, whatsoever, to develop technology in order to secure your artificial intelligence algorithms. So it is being addressed, but it is not complete. So there is a good opportunity for people like yourself, for new startups, and whatsoever.
All right, so there is an opportunity, but also there is a challenge that need to be keep addressing every time. All right, I think this is my last question because we have a very limited time until 5. Because after this we have, how do you call it? Coffee break after this, yeah. So, Mas Adit, I'm interested to ask you about this. We have hundreds of diaspora here, very talented pool. Indonesian studying here, Indonesian working there, or maybe they're not Indonesia anymore, but they love Indonesia, right? What can they do in concrete ways to help Indonesians achieve the visions of AI?
Wow, this is very tough question, yeah. So I always believe that there are always many ways to support a country. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, where you are right now, but I always believe that there are many ways to support the countries. I was a diaspora before. I did my master's study in Germany for 2 years. I continue to work in international. It's called International für Weltwirtschaft. It's World Institute for Economy in Germany, and then I continue my doctorate in Leiden, and then I work for a company in Rotterdam. So I'm diaspora, and as a diaspora, I believe that number one, we can always find problems that sometimes the governments took times to solve that problems. And as a diaspora, we don't tie by regulations, we don't tie by bureaucracy. I find that it is much more effective and faster to tackle that solution. I give you an example. When I was a diaspora, we are seeing that one of the ways to increase the access of education is to providing books to many schools in Indonesia. So when we were diaspora, we are gathering some books that we get and everything, and then we bring it to Indonesia and we distribute it. So there are many opportunities that we can contribute. And me as a former diaspora, which now is in the vice president office, I'm open to support any ideas that diaspora would like to do in Indonesia. Yeah.
All right, so there are a lot of things that we can do, and of course after this you can meet Pak Adit and then discuss about that. My last question to both of you: if you need to choose one, either one policy, one investment, one decision, what up to you. You can only choose one. What is the most determinative factors to optimize Indonesia AI industry right now? So, for Simon, only one. I believe you cannot see. I'm sure you cannot say. Oh, I don't like one, but this time only one policy.
Only one policy. I would say that a policy that encourage AI startups over in Indonesia.
AI startup, Dr. Adit.
Can I give this opportunity to Pak Fajar to answer, because he's the one who's put his hand on the ground.
Give applause to Pak Fajar. Here's my friends.
So he can give answer more.
I think it's a huge pressure for me from that. So actually, if I can choose what we need to do in Indonesia, I think AI itself is artificial intelligence. Some things with artificial it made by human. We discuss a lot today and we forget about the human side itself. but it always mentioned that Indonesian government tried to give education access to everyone. I mean, the things that we need to do at the moment is AI literacy at the first stage is very important. I mean, we can introduce AI to everyone, every students in Papua, in Aceh, across Indonesia. So I think it's very important. And besides AI, the fundamental of education itself is very important. Like Pak Adit said about the ethics, Indonesia at the moment we see in the social media that many students have lost some morals. They mock some teachers and everything. So I think besides talks about AI, we should focus also on the moral side and also the ethics. I think that's from my personal point of view. Thank you.
Give applause to Pak Fajar. So AI startup and AI literacy is very industry and very government, right? Safe answer, Mas Fajar. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Prof. Simon. Thank you, Dr. Adit, for giving us enrichment about AI in Indonesia. Before I conclude, I write some notes here that we have talked a lot about the policy frameworks, talent gap, all important, all necessary. However, in every technology history, there is always country who runs first, and then the others will catch up, adapt, right? And that's what's unique about AI. It's still contested. The door is still open. And Southeast Asia has big populations, big market, the diversity. We have the moral and ethics, right? And we need to walk into that door. Again, the question is, it's not about whether we have the capability or not. We do agree we have the capability. Singapore had the capability. Indonesia had the capability. But I do quote Prof. Simon's statement that it's about the willingness and our political interests of AI. Thank you very much. Giving back to MC.